After months and months of discussion between politicians about posting of workers directive, finally today we have had international conference with European think tanks discussing this posting and having much wider picture of the problems which cause posting of workers. So please let me introduce our expert, excellent expert, who share with us their knowledge, their vision, and also their experience about posting. Can we start with you, Frederik?
Hello, my name is Frederik de Wisplaren. I'm from the Catholic University of Leuven. What I've done today is first of all discussing the numbers on posting of workers, because there's a lot of discussion how many posted workers are in Europe today. I think it should be clear that in overall there's a rather limited impact and size of posting, but in specific member states and in specific sectors of activity, there are indeed some, you could say, a much higher impact of posting, and we call it also substitution effect, saying that native employees lose their job because of posting. But that's, I think, a negative side of posting. What's important also is not only focusing on the negative side of posting, but rather focus on the positive side of posting, because I'm convinced that posting is a very important economic tool. First of all, to create more employment in Europe, and also, for instance, for Greece, it could be very interesting to use it, because Greece indeed was confronted with a financial crisis. Now they have decided to lower wages, for instance, but there could also be a reaction to promote posting, for instance, in Greece, and that was not the decision in the end, but I think it's still important that we raise this importance of posting. It's also important for receiving member states, because indeed you could focus on the negative side of posting, focusing on the social dumping effect, but you cannot forget that there are also labor shortages and skills shortages in receiving member states. And posting is a very interesting tool to tackle these, first of all, skill and labor shortages in receiving member states.
Thank you, Frederik. Please, Damian.
So my contribution today focus on the inequality.
Introduce yourself, please.
First, I do apologize. So once again.
It's okay.
Okay. So my name is Damian Kukowicz. I am educated at Harvard Law School, where I've been teaching. I'm currently a fellow at European Union Institute in Florence. I'm also teaching at Kent Law School in Brussels right now. So my contribution today focus on the problem of inequality within the European Union. There is a rising inequality, as there is rising inequality in the world. And my main critique of this proposal was that this proposal for a new posted workers directive actually contributes to the rise in inequality rather than attacks it. The arguments that have been put forward for these proposals have been namely protection of workers' rights, protection of social Europe, and fair competition. However, this proposal does not achieve that. These are actually reasons for the proposals, but not the actual achievements. So the problem is that the proposal is skewed against the regions of the European periphery. It is skewed against regions which have lower wages, which are less developed, and generally form a region of the European periphery. So very briefly, let me just explain what center and periphery of the European Union are. The center regions of the European Union are the richest regions of Europe. They have higher productivity, they have better industry, there are seats of large corporations there. The law firms are based in the center of the European Union, the most powerful ones. The banking sector is based in the center. And in the periphery, the GDP per capita is much lower. People live much shorter lives. and low wages are actually one of the very few comparative advantages of the European periphery, of the companies of the periphery and of the workers of the periphery. Now, what this proposal does, it makes it even more difficult for companies and workers of the poorer periphery to come to the center and perform works there. So I believe that from the policy perspective, this proposal should not be welcomed, but rather it should be rejected. It contributes to rising inequality within the European Union, and it does not bode well for the future of the Union that definitely needs to tackle such problems in a different way.
Thank you. Marek, please.
Hello, my name is Marek Benio. I'm from the Krakow University of Economics, and I'm also Vice President of the Labour Mobility Initiative. And I was talking today about the positive aspects of posting of workers. There are basically two types of work migration within Europe. One is based on free movement of persons, and another one is based on free movement of services. The first one is when you can't find a job in your home member state. Using this freedom of mobility, you can go to another member state and find a job there. But the second, the big disadvantage of this type of migration is that after a while you start rooting there and you building there your family, and you spend most of your income there, and you pay social security contributions and taxes there. So from the perspective of your home member state, you are like a lost soul. This is called brain drainage or economic drainage. But the other type of migration based off free movement of services is different. You get a job with a local company, and that local company exercises the freedom to deliver services all over Europe. But in order to deliver a service in another member state, they have to post a worker there, and that worker is called posted worker. Now, current rules allow posted workers to earn at least minimum rates of pay in the receiving country, which means that if the workers are posted from low-wage country to high-wage country, they earn more than by doing the same job back home. So they're happy with their remuneration. Of course, their remuneration is not high enough or not as high as the similar remuneration in the receiving state, and that provokes problems from the receiving state or accuses of social dumping or displacement effect. The Commission's proposal aims at exchanging these minimum rates of pay that are guaranteed now to the posted workers into full remuneration, including all kinds of cost components that are characteristic for the receiving state. Now, on the first side, it looks like it will do better to the posted workers because they will receive higher remuneration or the same remuneration but with more components. But by the end of the day, will they be able to still to compete with local labor force? That's the big question. So is it a cohesion or anti-cohesion tool? That will still remain to be seen.
Thank you. Matthias.
My name is Matthias Busse. I'm from the Center for European Policy Studies here in Brussels, a think tank. And my main contribution was today to conceptualize the trade-off that is involved in the posting of workers framework. And here I was trying to show that we're actually trying to achieve three goals at the same time. Foremost, it is the deeper integration of the EU via the single market and the posted workers being one of the integral parts of the free provision of services across borders. That is one of the goals. The other goal would be to have high social protection, and the third would be to have autonomous and heterogeneous labor markets and welfare systems. Now, my visualization shows that actually can only achieve two of this trinity, the impossible trinity. And you have to make a choice where you want to move. And at the moment, it's characterized perhaps more by being in a state where we are fostering deeper integration via the single market, while at the same time having autonomous and heterogeneous labor markets. And the proposal that we're discussing here, the targeted revision, is most likely with its targeted revision in terms of remuneration, but also duration in terms of posting, will push us away from deeper EU integration and further down basically towards a state where you have high social protection, but also have at the same time have the heterogeneous labor markets, but at the expense of the competitive forces that we actually cherish a lot in the single market. And this is something that has to be kept in mind when discussing the proposal, that we are not getting this for free, we are exchanging. And then you have to evaluate whether actually this exchange is worth it, whether what you are getting out of it is worth what you're sacrificing. And there I'm myself a bit doubtful whether the proposal is proportional to this goal.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have as much time as we have had for discussion during a conference, but now I would like to ask you for one sentence of conclusion. Who would like to start?
I think most important is that we restore confidence between member states. Member states should be aware not only about the negative side aspects of posting, but should also be aware of the positive aspects of posting.
Thank you. Damian.
Thank you. So the European Union really is at crossroads, and I think that this proposal shows this very well. It's a portrayal of the crossroads of where the European Union actually has found itself. And the European Union needs new thinking for its future, for its sustainable future. And this proposal, unfortunately, is same old, and it's not the right way for Europe to take right now.
Well, posting of workers is mostly praised for delivering skills where they are needed, where the skills are needed. So we hear from here and there that we need more postings, not less. The problem is, can we achieve it by making it more difficult, more complicated, and limited in time? And that is the essence of the proposal.
Via this today in the event, I realize more and more that the debate is unfortunately very much driven by dividing Europe into two parts. And I think this is not what the debate should be about. It's about the good of the posted worker, and we shouldn't try to stigmatize posted workers or try to build a wall in between member states, and that cannot be the way forward for the EU.
Thank you for your presence today, and thank you for sharing your experience. And thank you for my colleagues, Sven Schulze and Ivo Bellet, and also my team who organized this very important conference today. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.